They brought us on a very special day, a day which is the 18th of February 2023. But why is it a special day? Because I was here, signed the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement on the 18th of Feb 2022. If I have sat down with my team for 6 months trying to plan to be here on this date, it will never happen. And I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me. And I say, yes, I want to be here. Yes, I want to speak in India. Nobody knows the date because I memorized the date. This is a momentous time, a great time to be here, to really speak to you all about what this partnership is about. The Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement that's signed between the UAE and India is a first for a GCC country to sign. It's a free trade agreement bilaterally with India. Before the CEPA, our trade was doing around $50 billion a year. With this CEPA, I promise to hit $100 billion of trade. This CEPA had 18 chapters and signed and finished within 88 days. Who does that? A will between two nations that came together and really set the ground forward for a future. Really put together something to really sign and put for the businesses in front. There's about 10,000 line items will be unlocked in the next 10 years within the CEPA as it gradually really opens up. And we really believe in the CEPA that it's going to bring a lot of things between us. It is, like said, the first bilateral, and since then we signed another 2, one with Indonesia and one with Israel. We're going to sign another 4 this year, maybe 5. We want to reach 26 CEPAs in the next 7 years as the United Arab Emirates. And why? It is not the bilateral aspect. Let me explain what does CEPA unfolds. The CEPA unfolds is, if we trade from country A to country B, it's nice, we've been doing trade a lot. But what happens if country A then signs another CEPA with another country? The CEPA unfolds that you bring a product in from country B to country A, you add a bit of value to it, becomes made in country A, and then you can trade it to country C. With that said, country C then takes that product, add a bit of value and access more markets. That's the most important part. So let me explain. What does the CEPA between UAE and India have, for instance? There's a lot of construction, I see. There is a steel ignot, for instance, we can bring it from India. We bring it into the UAE, and we transform that steel ignot from steel ignots to steel rebars, for instance. It becomes made in UAE. And then we can transform that into another trade agreement. But let me tell you something which is interesting. If I bring the steel ignot to the UAE and I transform it into steel rebar, it doesn't add to 35% of value add. Because the CEPA between UAE and India is as well not just a percentage, it's a transformational of an HC code that uses by customs. You traders, your business people, you know what HC code in customs. If we change 4 digits in the HC codes, it means that the CEPA enacts and needs 15% and we can actually retrade it again. With that said as well, this huge movement of trade between UAE and India really brought a lot of opportunities. We looked at about $100 billion of trade we wanted to do in the next 7 years. I think we're going to hit it before that. I'm very optimistic. $15 billion in service trade, at least $15 billion within 5 years in services. And that's something which is huge as well, and we want to do. With that, the new era of growth and prosperity will get hit about $49.3 billion in the total value of non-oil just between UAE and India last year. We grew by 26% just in 1 year. That's why I'm very optimistic. 26% of this growth. 10% of growth of non-oil between UAE and India in 21 and 22. And 1,900 weekly passenger and cargo flights between us. We have a long-standing history together. We have common values. We have mutual respect. And we trusted each other and we cooperated. 88 days never happened in any history of any CEPAs or free trade agreements globally to really bring the magnitude of this into one place. So we want to become a global trade hub. And India is one of the most vibrant economies. And to doing so, we want to help India to reach the $5 trillion it wants to reach in 2030. This trade is going to help to really achieve India's target of $5 trillion and become one of the top 3 economies in the world. And our economy as well is growing at a very strong pace. We hit about 2.2 trillion dirhams of trade last year. Historic. Never happened in the 51 years of the UAE's history. With a 7.6% real GDP growth, with the 22 billion of FDI inflows, that's one of the top 20 countries of attracting businesses into it. 6.1%, the non-oil GDP was up to 6.1, and 3.9% central bank has revised forecast for the real output growth in 2023. But I don't really look at these numbers. I look at where we're heading with. I'm looking at, can we do another 7% this year? Can we grow as well as UAE from that aspect? And the cooperation is huge. Like I said, we want to really achieve what India wants to do of $5 trillion, and the UAE is to double the size as well to 3 trillion dirhams by the end of 2031. But let's speak about challenges. Let's speak about headwinds. And let's speak about as well the aspect of fragmentation. I know in this room, discussion since yesterday, I don't know if you attended Nuri Rubini's session, they speak about the fragmentation that's happening globally is a huge issue as well. The UAE understand this. And we understand that from the fragmentation that will happen, there's going to be a huge impact on the economy. The economy, not just in the UAE, globally, has been suffering for the last 10 years. We had a very slow growth in the mid-2015-16. We had the Arab Spring, 2012 onwards. The MENA region is becoming a place where trade and economy is on a slow pace. We had oil prices going up and down. I never in my lifetime seen an oil barrel sell for -$. Have you guys seen that? I've seen it. You guys know in the room seen it. And the next couple of months, we've seen it trading at $70, $80, $100 to $120. Who can imagine a world with that? COVID-19, the pandemic, shook us all off. GBS couldn't do the summit for 2 consecutive years because of the COVID and so forth. We couldn't meet. And the recession that really hit. So, all right, that's great. I took the Ministry of Economy when it was July 2020, middle of COVID, the middle of pandemic. I received a phone call, so you're going to be the Minister of Economy tomorrow. Okay? Couldn't be a better choice. But the second is, today with the highest inflation rate, highest interest rate, and the fragmentation of the economy, I said, bring it on. If we manage to navigate through the really tough times, really become the UAE's fastest recovery, I think we can, all together with businesses here, we can put hands to hand and really move forward towards a much better future. With that fragmentation, what happens is, there's another challenge. There's going to be a multipolar world, a place where power is going to be dispersed. And geopolitics is going to arise. There's going to be challenges on the level of tensions between nations. And there's going to be something else as well. Fragmentation on the financial systems. We've seen very recently money moving from east to west, west to east, on different platforms. So what will happen is that fragmentation of financial system is going to take us as well another fold of understanding what the world is going to be. People want to pay in dollars. People want to pay in rupees. Changes of systems from the SWIFT to something else. We've seen oil. India bought oil from the UAE on dirhams, for instance, as a currency. That's changing. And it's going to change more and more. So how can we as well understand that fragmentation where the UAE stands? The UAE looked at things the last couple of months as well and understood that the UAE can really find opportunities with these fragmentation. I'm not an advocate of fragmentation, but I always say there's always an opportunity to find. We managed to understand with our agile policies in the economy, with our swift movement, our leadership focus, the visionary focus on the future, we managed to do a couple of changes. We changed the law of commercial businesses, giving 100% ownership for foreign investors to open 100% license for their companies on the mainland. We opened up as well and created an aspect for trade, and understanding the CEPAs and the free trade agreements are very important to bring countries together and to trade freely. We understand as well our visa regimes needed a big shift. The golden visa, the green visa, and the freelance visa was important. This was second day, actually, in the ministry. I said, a fuel for economy is actually talent. And to bring people is the most important of that, to make sure that the talent is available for economy. And that shift has shown a lot. When I say these changes have done, what's the numbers that really shows that? We had 5,600 high net worth individuals moving to the UAE in 2022. We have 13 billionaires at the moment in the UAE. Over 300 millionaires that came into the UAE who was worth more than $100 million. That shows, this is in 1 year, that shows how the UAE is a place where it tracks. UAE, back in the 70s, it was actually a seaport. We built the biggest seaport in the world. In the 80s and 90s, we built the biggest airport and the biggest airline. Today, the UAE is a brain port, a place where it brings people from around the world, people who want to do business and to look to move their trade from and use the UAE as a logistical hub to come and meet and move forward. With that said, we have the trade agreements, we have the global fragmentation, we have high interest rate, high inflation, a stagflation maybe coming forward. But with that aspect is, we need to come together. We need to reimagine what the world will be. From the sessions I've seen business people really want to do something which is bringing this kind of challenge, of global challenge, into a reality where we can actually resolve and solve. The UAE and us and everyone in this room wants to come together and really speak and reimagine the future, redesign it, re-engineer it into a way where we can actually rather make it more of a defragmented world. Going back to 3 decades of sustainable trade flows, to sustainable globalization, moving products from point to point. We're going to go in a choppy waters at the moment, and we need to really understand that this is something we need to really discuss. And so, discussing it, there are a couple of things that really bring us together. Climate change. The UAE is going to host the COP28 this year. Climate change is a huge, huge aspect for the world. It's just a challenge on the planet Earth, but it's actually an opportunity for investments. Green bonds, green investments, and financials for green finance is something which is important now to look at. And that's something where we want to bring on the table for COP28. On the trade aspect, the UAE is going to host the MC13, the ministerial meeting for all trade ministers for the WTO is going to be in Abu Dhabi as well. This brings people together, and we want to discuss and we want to talk on the aspect of the future and the aspect of reimagining, and looking at the UAE to play a hub for all, to really bring together, help countries and help people and nations and companies to really come together and really focus on a very optimistic future. Thank you very much.